Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is that video that I was talking about where I'm going to be doing the story time, so let's get right into it. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you like the video. If not, let me know for the reason why in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in a minute. Alright, so when I was about 17, 16 years old, I think I was 16 turning 17 at the time, I was in middle school, and at the time I was known as the collar kid because, you know, me being that kind of furry, I always wear this collar like all the fucking time because it's just me saying, hey, I'm a furry, look at me, without necessarily needing to say it. And so some people would obviously give me weird looks because it's collars are also known as kind of a kink thing, but me being 16, I didn't necessarily know that. 16, 17 still, don't know if I'm around that age. Uh, it's been a few years. Anyway, I digress. Basically, what was ending up happening is people would so to be able to describe this story, I need to describe to you like the elements around me. So basically, I'm one of the popular kids in my school, but not because like I'm cool or anything, but like just because I'm known. And my school is very close to another middle school at the time, and they were close enough together that the kids from both of the schools would actually know each other. And it's the same situation for two of the high schools in a later story that I'm going to describe. So now that we've got that out of the way, I could fully describe this. So the layout of this building, if you know what a baseball field looks like, that weird bottom, like triangle out the bottom of the diamond, that's kind of like where the entrance of the school building is, and then it goes out in two different sections. But you also have this like hallway that goes directly down the entire middle of the diamond. So when I was walking down this hallway, the best way I can describe it is this skinny little guy wearing black but claims to be emo, even though he's clearly goth. I think he definitely was confused about the terminology there. And like he walked past me and then looked at me and gave me a really weird look. But like he was one of these kids that was popular for being the emo wannabe kid who's like always, oh, the world sucks and you shouldn't be happy right now. And if he sees people laughing in the hallway, he'll literally just walk over and stare at them. Now, that's important for a little bit later, but so what ends up happening is he looks at me and then he just like walks away but stomps his feet in the process. So I'm just kind of sitting there confused as hell, and me and my friend are sitting there on D&D, and we're just playing some Dungeons and Dragons, just like chilling out, relaxing, and then we start playing a little bit of, I think it was Magic the Gathering, because my friend had a giant Magic deck at the time, and I don't remember that much of the rules anymore, because it's been a good minute, but I digress. So basically what ends up happening is, like, he comes back while me and my friend are sitting here playing Magic, and like, he walks up and looks at me and he's like, why do you look like you're happy? And I looked at him and I was like, first of all, I'm not. And second of all, why do you care? And he was like, well, the world sucks. And I was like, okay, so? And he looked at me and was like, really? You're gonna be like that right now? And I just kind of like got quiet because I didn't know what the hell to say. But I guess the like face that I had was like a face telling him that like I didn't like what he was saying. He was like, well, if you don't like what you're saying, you could just like leave me alone. And I was like, wait, you walk up to me and you tell me to leave you alone? What an unhinged motherfucker. But I'm just sitting there, right? And so, like, he walks away, and then, like, at the end of the school day, I'm getting onto my bus, and this kid walks back up to me, and he literally looks at me, and before I get onto my bus, he says, where are you going? Aren't we gonna fight? And I look at him, I'm like, what? Why? Just kind of like giving that obvious what the fuck look, and he just kind of like stares at me and says, what, are you a baby? And I was like, if first of all, if we're gonna fight, we're doing it off of campus so none of us are getting suspended. And also, I didn't ask to fight. I didn't know you wanted to why do you want to fight me? So his first thing that he said, his first thing that he decided to do to react to what I was asking him was just give me this face of absolute pure disgust that I didn't know why he was angry at me at all. So I'm just sitting there, keep in mind, confused as all hell, not knowing what's going on. And like this kid is like kind of raising his voice at me enough for people in the hallways to like look over and want to pay attention, but they don't want to make it look like they're paying attention kind of deal. So there's a lot going on, and just in the process of all of this, as well as like me being confused and everything, he just like look like he, after the face of disgust, he like looks at me and then walks away, just angry. And then he gets on his bus and then like I guess he waits at the park or something, and that's important for later. So me and my friend, I'm gonna call Roderick. No, Dakota. No, not none of those kids. Uh, what is a nickname I could use for him? I guess I'll just call him Edgar. I don't know why. It just feels like an okay name for my friend. Um, so basically what ends up happening is this, me and my friend Edgar, because we get on the same bus, and this is the same kid that I was playing D&D and Magic with. We get on the bus together, and like we just kind of start talking about this kid, and then one of the kids that actually really dislikes me for once says something that actually kind of made me smile, because it's like even my bully is standing up for me a little bit. He looks over at me and he's like, as much as I don't like you, I don't like seeing this kid do this to you. So I just kind of stare at him like, all right, thank you. And like he just kind of like realizes that if like I'm confused, I guess. So, just kind of one of those scenarios where it's like, all right, I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do here. What do I don't, yeah, I just don't know what to do, because it's somebody who dislikes me that's even like, wow, you're going through a fucked up scenario because you're dealing with a piece of shit. And that's kind of important for later, because this was not a one-time offense, but I digress. So this kid, after school, me and my friend Edgar, I guess, get the like message from somebody, like Edgar has a friend that knows this kid who like, I guess they like live close together or something. It's not really that important for the story. But basically, Edgar, my friend, gets confirmation that, oh, yeah, this kid wants to fight me. So I asked my friend, are you sure, like, he wants to fight me? Like, does he really actually want to fight me? And, like, I'm only asking that because even I'm still somehow in denial of the fact that this weird kid wants to fight me. So I'm just kind of sitting there staring, like, at my friend blankly, apparently, enough to the point where he even realized that, like, I just don't... At the time, I honestly was a little innocent, even though I was a weirdo. Like, I definitely, like, could not fucking process that this dude wanted to beat me. So after school, I get to the park, and, like, I see the kid. He's standing with a group of his emo friends, right? And I walk up to him, and all of his emo friends are like, are you the one making fun of my friend? And I look over to their friends, and I'm like, I didn't even say anything. I just looked at him weird because he told me that I was being happy. And he, like, all of his friends just kind of, like, gave that look of, you better not be lying, but I think you're lying because there's no way my friend did that. And I'm sitting there like, okay, well, obviously these kids have no idea who their own friend is. How new is this friendship? And like, I started to have a bunch of questions on my mind, but before I could even ask questions, my friend Edgar walks up, and like, before my friend Edgar even gets close enough to put his hand on my shoulder, which is what he was trying to do, this emo kid, right? He swings at me. And I'm not gonna lie, this kid could actually punch. It hurt a little bit. Like, he hit me, and I actually, like, launched back a little bit, and I looked up at him and was like, really? And, like, my friend Edgar walked up to me and was like, don't fight him, don't fight him. And he wasn't talking to me, but I thought he was. I looked over at my friend Edgar and said, dude, I'm about to fucking ruin this kid if he keeps doing this. And keep in mind, I'm not that strong. I'm not a very good fighter. I don't think I am. There's a lot more I have to learn about when it comes down to fighting. Shooting, maybe a little bit of a different story, because I have experience with that more than I do with fighting, but I digress. I'm not a very good fighter. So basically what ends up happening is I this this emo kid, after punching me, and Edgar looking at him being like, don't fight my friend. You don't want to fight my friend. All of his friend, like, emo kid's friends, just start laughing and are like, oh my god, he's such a baby, he can't defend for himself. So I push my friend Edgar out of the way, and I swing at the emo kid, and I guess I made a solid enough connection to where you just hear just a loud smack, but it, like, made a pop sound. And my middle finger and my pinky did pop, but I guess I hit him enough to where, like, he got up and he started grabbing his jaw, and I thought I had dislocated his jaw, but no, I just left a really big red mark on his jaw that was, like, starting to welt up. So he looks at me and he's like, you just did that to me? Are you serious? And I was like, yeah, you just punched me for no reason at all. And he was like, you've been making fun of me for the last few days. I was like, what do you think my name is? And he tells me somebody else's name entirely. And I look at him and I say, you are stupid because I'm not that kid. I'm Eric. I'm Ray. and he literally looks at me and was like, and he gets like pale white and sheepish, realizing that, oh, he really was about to just fight somebody for no fucking reason at all. So he, like, all of his friends stare at me and just kind of like realize that, oh yeah, I'm definitely not the target, and let's get out of here. So all of his friends run off, but leave the emo kid at the park with me and my friend Edgar. So me and my friend just look at him and we're like, we just kind of look at the emo kid and we're just both ready to ask, but before we ask anything, he's like, I have no idea why they just ran off. The emo kid straight up just like, even just, I have no idea why they ran. Bro, I think it's because you're a little toxic personally, but that's a story for later. I have a lot more. I've been interacting with this kid a lot more, not recently, but like I have a lot more interactions more than just this story. So if you guys want another strange emo kid story, I'm gonna call him Harold, I guess. If you want another story about Harold, go ahead and like the video. Otherwise, that's basically very much the conclusion of that. Basically what me and my friend Edgar ended up doing is we walked home and we just kind of started playing some Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2 on my original my old Xbox 360, and also my original Xbox, which I still have today. Lovely, and I really wish I had a cord to get the thing working, because man, I'm really craving some Halo 2 right now. Anyway, I digress. If you like the video, like it, dislike it. If you dislike it, let me know for the comment section below. Next piece. So when I was 17, 18 years old, I was in high school, right? And I'm, again, still kind of popular because, like, a lot of the kids from my middle school, from the last story, just kind of, like, ended up actually knowing me and ended up going to the same school as me. I don't know what to call this school. I'll just call it the high school because, you know, there's many high schools in the United States, but I don't want to, like, dox the school, essentially, or the location of it. So like, basically what ends up happening is I'm walking up the staircase, like, okay, I need to rewind a little bit, hang on, I went way too far in the story. So I'm sitting in the lunchroom and I'm eating food, right? And this, like, me and my friend just kind of, like, are sitting there talking to each other, and we're talking to each other a lot about, well, ironically, War Thunder, because at the time I started to get really into War Thunder, and I was like, for anybody who plays War Thunder, I was around tier 3.3. I had just gotten the Panzer IV F2. I was really excited. My buddy was all the way at 10-7 Russia and also America, so I was very envious at the time. Not very important to the story, but just kind of, in my opinion, just a goofy little side note. However, like, I get up and I go bring my food to the lunch lady after eating. My friend and I were, like, kind of like chilling out for a few minutes, and then I realized that I left my backpack in a classroom. So I get up and I start walking to the classroom. So I don't know necessarily how to, like, describe the layout of this school. Basically, you go through the front doors at before I explain the doorway and, like, everything else. There's 4 different buildings. You have the main building, you have a little, like, side building that I think is, like, meant for controlling some of the electronics in the school. That's really, really small. It's like the size of a shed, basically. And then you have 2 decent-sized buildings that are separated, one containing a library and a couple of extra elective rooms, and then another building next to it, which is strictly the tech ed elective room. So the main building, you walk in through the front, like, steps, and basically there's a small, like, it's very flat for a second where the office is, and then where the office ends, it goes up in a staircase, and there's a railing in between the staircase and every staircase of this school, basically. So within that railing, I'm like, so, sorry, jumping ahead of myself a little bit. Like, the building after the office room, there's another flat area. It leads into the lunchroom and the custodian rooms and stuff like that. And then it goes up into a little staircase, and then it flattens out. On that little itty bitty flat out, there's a nurse's office, and there's still a railing in between them to be able to guide where people are going, because right in America, if you're on the right side of the road, you're driving forward. So you're trying to get from one location to another, driving forward from the right side of the road, basically. So it's kind of the same concept as American roadways, literally. Not even kind of, it just is. You walk to your class on the right side, and they're divided so everybody cannot, like, run into each other. And this is important for later. So I'm walking up the staircase to where the nurse's room is, and I see these 3 girls walk around the corner. And I'm just going to call the main girl of the group Mean Girl, because this story definitely is a little interesting and is definitely a mean girl. So basically, I'm walking up the staircase, and there's like 30 kids in the hallway, right? And she, for some reason, even though there's an entire lane that she can walk on the staircase, decides to walk down the staircase I'm walking on. And as I try to make room for her to be able to walk around me, she's just sitting there looking at her phone, and I still think she did this intentionally while looking at her phone. I really don't think this was an accident. I think she was looking for a problem, but I digress. She basically just kind of shoulder checks me and looked at me and intentionally dropped her phone and picked it up, and her friends and her were like, "The fuck was that for?" And I looked over, and like her friends just kind of realize, oh wait, why did I just say that? Hang on, she just shoulder checked him. And I could tell in their faces that they were just like trying to calculate what just happened. But the girl who shoulder checked me immediately starts jumping on my ass and says, why did you just shoulder check me, you disrespectful asshole? This is why I don't like furries. And immediately two kids, just out of nowhere that I don't know, walk up to me and like kind of look at me and like grab me by the shoulder and like walk me away from the girl a little bit, and are like, I have no idea why she just did that to you. I know this girl and I've never seen her be like this with anybody. And I guess this girl used to be nice. I don't know what happened. I don't know why me being a furry made her angry, but that's gonna happen. But so basically what ends up happening is like I get pulled away from my friends group, and in the process of being pulled away from like my friends, like my friend is sitting there staring at me wondering what to do because he doesn't know what to do. And like my like two random people that grab me, they just kind of tell me, I don't know what's going on. I just think that what just happened to you is stupid. Go sit in the lunchroom. We'll probably go talk to the principal. And so they go walking over to the principal. And this is kind of goofy. But in my high school, teachers were chill for some reason, like really chill. At least a good portion of them were. They were really strict about you getting your work done, but you could literally do what this kid did and walk around with an actual dildo glued to your hat. I'm not kidding. An actual dildo glued to your hat. So this guy walking down the hallway walks up to me with a penis hat and literally just kind of like, I know, that chick's a dickhead. So me and him start laughing because clearly that was a joke about his hat, and I'm just sitting there like, why the fuck does this dude have a dildo on his head? And like we just start laughing, and I guess a few minutes later the like mean girls' friends walks up to me and like, okay, I don't know why she did that, but she's in the office right now trying to like tattle on you in the counselor's room, so we're gonna go to like the actual principal's room and go talk to him. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And she's like, just go sit right here because I'm pretty sure there's a camera here that caught that. And so I sit down, and I'm surprised with how chill kids are in this school, actually. Like, genuinely surprised how chill, like, I'm not, like, I'm not popular for the best reasons. I'm usually made fun of, but, like, this surprised the fuck out of me, how nice people were being. I was like, really? Okay. All right. So all these people start being nice to me basically, and I get told to sit down on this like desk, and I'm just sitting there because right outside of the lunchroom there's two extra tables that people can sit outside of and eat their food because it's still lunchroom tables and they still let kids eat right there. So I'm just sitting there, and my D&D friend walks over, and keep in mind I still haven't gotten my backpack yet. That's the one thing I wanted. I just wanted my goddamn backpack. Why did you do this to me, lady? But basically what ends up happening is, so this lady's in the office and she's tattling on me and stuff like that. And so the two mean girls as friends, including the two dudes, walk over to the principal's office and tell the principal, oh, okay, one of my, this kid just got shoulder checked really hard for no reason by this girl in the hallway, and I think she's in the counselor's office trying to say, he shoulder checked her. And he was like, well, I don't know what's going on. I don't think I could do anything about it. And they were like, you have cameras, right? And he was like, oh, yeah, right, good point. I don't know why he forgot about his cameras, but he did. And so he looks at his cameras and, well, let alone. He sees the three girls walk down the staircase, an obvious, complete open area she can walk around, and chooses to run into me. So he's like, all right, clearly there was going to be some problems. And so the principal walks out, he goes, grabs me because the girls tell him where I'm at, and he says, go grab your backpack, I'll be back in a second. And when I go grab my backpack, there is a cop there and the teacher holding my backpack and says, this is your backpack and it smells like weed. So, way to go, lady. You kind of like ruined my day. I think you doing that made me have a little bit less of a punishment for having weed in school, but this is important for later. So basically, I get walked to the room with a cop, and like a bunch of kids kind of like stare at me like, wait, what just happened? Why is there a cop involved? So I make it to the office and everything, and like I'm like, I don't have weed on me, just my backpack smells like weed because I was smoking with a bunch of friends. And they don't care if you smoke off campus, just as long as you're not like around campus or even inside of campus when you have stuff, or like even smoking. You can't smoke on campus. That's just kind of the deal. So I stupidly thought this would actually work. I put a couple of my nugs, the only nugs that I got from my friend, inside of a deodorant container, and the deodorant container was mostly full, but, like, it's a deodorant container. It's not scent proof. It just slightly added another scent to the marijuana that made it obvious that yes, it's marijuana. So basically, I had this stanky ass marijuana in this little container, and this container was obviously a deodorant stick. And the principal takes it out of my bag. He asked me, "All right, I want you to take everything out of your bag while the cops here, so you can see." And I start doing that, and he's like, "All right, so about the girl shoulder checking you and everything, because this just became very, busy all of a sudden." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "All right, so she's gonna get suspended for a couple of days, but if you have what I think you have, I'm gonna have to like put you in like that. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a little rehabilitation center. I went there for an entire week. I literally just pulled a Mr. Maggie and went, drugs are bad, okay, but you could tell the teachers are the teachers that literally pulled a Mr. Maggie, took a hit of a joint, and literally became a floating head balloon throughout all of South Park. But that's not exactly part of the story. But I mean, it is, but like it's not too important. So basically, what ends up happening is I take out my deodorant stick, and he's like, all right, that's the source. And I was like, how could you tell? And he pulls it out, and I'm like, okay, it's probably immediately started to stink in here because I was stoned. I couldn't smell it that much. So, yeah, way to go, ma'am. Yeah, way to go, mean girl. You got me caught with my weed when I could have just grabbed my backpack and walked out of the classroom. That's what I could have done. And like, yeah, it still would have stunk for a minute, but I mean, I could have like put the weed somewhere else. So if I got searched, my backpack may smell like weed, but I don't have any on me. Like I could have done something about it, but no, you had to shoulder check me. But basically what ends up happening is I go to this thing, and a week after I come back, a few of the kids are like, oh, what just happened? Why was there a cop involved? Why did you have to be gone for a week? And I was like, I got caught with weed in my bag because of this lady. And they were like, oh, so that's the end of that story. Crazy lady decided to shoulder check me in the in the middle of the high school hallway for no reason, literally at all. So there's that one. Next story is very interesting as well because keep in mind, I am a furry. But this story happens to be involved with a furry. He's not a good furry. I can definitely confirm that. He's not a good furry. He even stinks, but that's important for later. So, basically, I'm in the middle of a Call of Duty session with 5 of my friends, right? And I'm not going to say any of their Xbox names. I'm not even going to say their real names, but I will say that 3 of them ended up participating and, like, said that I can share this story because it was between all 5 of us, so I figured I would ask everybody. If it's between one person, I'll just do everything I can to not disclose them, but I'll still tell the story. But if it's more than one person, I'm definitely going to get approval. However, what ends up happening is very, very, very interesting, okay? So me and my friend get into this Black Ops 2 lobby, right? And immediately right when the game starts, somebody turns on their microphone and starts blaring, like, weird anime-sounding music, but it's not anime, it's just, like, a bunch of sounds mashed together, and then like every now and then you hear a weeaboo or like an anime girl just go ah and like yeah, like those weird ooh sounds and stuff like that. But like most of it's just like the definition of a YouTube poop song. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It's absolutely a YouTube poop. There's no other way I could describe it. But basically, immediately as soon as he starts playing it, he puts it on full blast in everybody's microphone. I don't know what he was trying to do. Maybe like deter us from our ability of playing better using loud ass music. But at the time, I don't think I remember Black Ops 2 having the ability of muting other people's microphones, so I was just like having to listen to this the entire time. And so everybody in the lobby heard this. This kid's mom walks in and is like, "You need to shut that shit off. Why do you always do this? You do this every day. It's not funny anymore. It was funny the first time probably, but you need to actually stop this. You're fat and lazy and all you do is eat my food and you don't do anything. You're 19 years old almost and you don't have the ability of contributing to anything. You've made me spend," and like goes off on her kid. And all of a sudden the kid is like, "Mom, shut the fuck up and grab me a cola." And her mom is like, "You don't talk to me like that. You do know I can kick you out right now, right?" And like immediately the kid is like, "You're not going to kick me out, Mom." And I guess he called it right because that's important for later. So basically, like we get to school the next day after the Call of Duty session ends because the entire like session like lasted probably 10 minutes because it actually managed to go on forever. It was a search and destroy match and like everybody was sweaty as hell players and like really were good, so it was kind of a nice battle, I'm not gonna lie. It was probably some of my fun time on Black Ops 2. It was literally the only time I completely 360 no-scoped somebody and actually did it accurately without missing and like didn't die in the process of doing it. So I was really happy about that, which is part of the reason why I remember this story so well, is because of that incident, but I digress. So basically what ends up happening is me and my friend get to school the next day, and my friend goes to a different school than I do, but we still like contact each other. And at the time I had a little bit of data on my phone, so I could call him in the middle of class and stuff like that. So we had a Discord server we were calling each other on, but we decided not to call this time. But we started talking to each other about it, and he was like, so I figured out that that kid that was yelling on the microphone last night was actually a kid at our school. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, no, nobody likes this kid. He's also a furry, but like, no, this kid actually is like not, he's not, he's not cool. And I was like, okay, can you give me a better description? He's like, after school. So me and my friend after school get together, and we start talking about this kid. I'm gonna call this kid Dakota because that's like a name that definitely fits him. So me and Dakota start having a conversation, right? And like, I love Dakota. I love his mom too because his mom is pretty chill. But this is the one time I would say his mom was a little bit of a rude asshole sometimes, but like it was kind of necessary in my opinion. I don't think this would have changed anything unless she had slapped this lady. But basically what ends up happening is, so we get to like hang out and we go to school the next day. So my friend brings up to the furry kid like, so why did you scream at your mom to get you a Coke last night or the other day? And he basically just like starts freaking out on the kid and starts screaming in the middle of class because they shared a class together, and was like, I can't believe that you're lying about me screaming about my mom trying to get me a Coke. And he was like, that's not even what I said. And he was like, I don't care, you're lying, why are you making up lies? And the teacher's like, is there a problem? Why is there a problem? And the kid looks over and just like my friend Dakota shrugs his shoulders at the teacher and is like, I don't know what I said. And it's very obvious to the teacher that he doesn't know what's going on, and apparently this furry does this all the time. So the teacher grabs the furry and then like brings him to the principal's office. And I guess after school, the furry was pressing my friend Dakota and was like, I'm gonna fight you tomorrow. I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you. We're gonna go to this park and we're gonna fight. We're gonna do it right now. And like, my friend Dakota was very athletic. He's the kind of kid that looks buff enough to the point where you don't want to fuck with him. Like, even I was scared of him. Me and him ran bodies a few times. It's fun, but like, I'm definitely scared of this dude because he hits hard. When he hits you, you fly. Like, this dude, if he was any superhero, he might be genuinely Superman. Like, this dude's kryptonite is the only kryptonite he has is marijuana, right? You take out a joint in the middle of a fight and he's gonna sit down and smoke it with you. But I digress. So basically what happens, right, is this fucking this furry, right? Me and my friend finally get to the park, and like I said about the last story, the high schools, I went to a different high school than he did. It was the same high school that I went where I got shoulder checked and stuff like that from the last story. But basically what ends up happening is we get together after school, we walk down the same street because we live very close to each other, and we make it to the park, and we just kind of wait at the park for the furry kid. But then we notice that like there's only 3 people there, and there's just a kid standing by the tree wearing bright blue ears and a blue tail, and it's like a very fluffy tail. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a cute like pair of ears and tail, but the dude who was wearing it, I swear, was not who you'd expect to wear it, right? I mean, it kind of is if you expect neck beards, but like, this dude, I don't know how to describe it. I'm not fat shaming more than this is going to sound like I'm fat shaming, but this dude, if he sat in one of those school chairs, he would take up 2 of them. Like, his roll, like his muffin top was literally enough to make him literally look like a Goomba from Mario. I'm not kidding. This guy was pretty big enough to actually say he was obese. Like, I don't know how he got this big, especially when later in the story you're going to hear something very interesting. So basically he walks over, right? And I guess there's this lady in the back of the park that like starts walking over too, but the kid walks over towards us and we don't notice the lady until like a little bit later, which is important. So the kid walks over to us and we walk over to him, and before we even reach him, like, I start plugging my nose a little bit because this is one of those guys who thinks that being stinky and not showering means that you're an alpha male. And with him being a furry, he genuinely thought he was on top of the world. Like, he sagged his pants and thought he was a gangster. I'm not kidding. And he didn't have underwear, alright? That's important for later in the story, because it was fucking funny. But basically what ends up happening, right, is this kid walks over towards us and he's sagging his pants and he's doing the crip walk kind of deal. He's like throwing his body and his back a little bit, trying to look badass. And he gets over towards us, and me and my friend just look at him and we're like, why do you want to fight us over this? And he was like, because you've been lying about me to all my friends, and I don't care about what you say. I don't like who you are. You're a piece of shit and you deserve to die. And my friend Dakota looks at him and says, Bro, you stink. You smell like battery acid if it was dipped in Coca-Cola and left there for a month. And I guess that's not like a very good insult, but it was enough for like the furry kid to just like rage and like stomp his feet to try to be intimidating. And I look over and I guess I started laughing or like cracking a smile or something. I might have started smirking a little bit because that was funny to me. But I guess he noticed that, and so he takes a punch at me. But he doesn't do a normal punch, right? You know how Superman like takes up both of his fists and flies through the sky, right? He leans back and puts both of his arms out forward and punches both of us in the chest in one go, right? And so me and my friend barely take any like damage to this. Like we don't even like really rock back. And he's like, "How'd that feel?" And me and my friend Dakota look at each other and start to laugh, and his mom walks up. And so I'm starting to actually get a little bit irritated now because I'm like, "Really? What the fuck?" And so his mom walks up and is like, "What's going on here? Why are you guys picking on my child?" And I looked over and I was like, "Didn't you yell at your child in a Call of Duty lobby to turn the music off because like he's being an asshole, and didn't he ask you, like not even ask you but tell you to go get a Coca-Cola?" And she was like, "How do you know that?" And I was like, "I was in the session." And she was like, "Oh my god, kids are starting rumors in the school about us." I don't know what to name the furry kid, but "Furry kid, we need to go back to our house." And like the furry kid is like, "No mom, I need to beat them." And the mom was like, "Yeah, okay then son, I'll let you beat them up," and starts like actually supporting her child, right? And keep in mind, the entire time that they were in the Call of Duty lobby and like we were hearing the mom yell at him, she was calling him fat and greasy and smelly, how he doesn't take showers and his room is a mess, how he got cockroaches twice, how he literally like loses girlfriends because he thinks that being an alpha male means you own all the girls in the world. Like he literally was that kind of kid, and his mom was about to kick him out, but when I brought that up to the mother, she got pissed. I was like, "What the hell?" But no, she literally looks at me and was like, "So you really think that I'm going to kick my son out, my beloved son? He doesn't do anything wrong." And I was like, "Ma'am, he just walked up to us and started trying to fight us because we asked him why he was yelling at you to grab a Coca-Cola." And she just like stops for a second, and I think she was trying to process that that's not a good thing, that's not a good thing at all, but she doesn't process it, right? She just kind of like smirks slightly and says, "That doesn't matter because my son doesn't do that stuff, and I know you guys are lying about the Call of Duty lobby." And so me and my friend just kind of stare at each other, but I guess my friend's mom just got home, which thank God, because this mom is awesome, like genuinely. But she walks up, like not even walks, but she like sprints, full sprints, like fucking Naruto runs to us, not with her arms back or anything, but like just speedy. She was the fastest 40-year-old I've ever seen on 2 feet. But she gets to us very quickly, and like we're in the middle of the park, and the park is like an entire mile and a half long. I'm not kidding. That's actually like roughly the distance. So the fact that she covered the distance of almost 2/4 miles in like literally 30 seconds is really fucking ridiculous. But hey, mother adrenaline over her child, right? So basically she gets over here and she's like, "Why are you attacking my son and his friend?" And then like I guess she already had some context of what was going on because I guess they knew each other. So this furry kid and Edgar had been having beef with each other for a while, all right? So I guess they've been at each other's throats, and they live right next door to one another. And so since they live next door, their mothers are always fighting. And I didn't know this at the time, but sometimes when the mom goes outside while I was chilling out with my friend Edgar at his house, it's literally to like make sure that the Karen is not vandalizing her property and stuff like that. Like she had to put up a partial electrical fence because she would try to sick her dog, like the Karen would try to sick her dogs on my friend's mom's cats. Like it was that bad of harassment. And it was to the point where when the Karen got over, she literally, like not the Karen, when my friend's mom gets over, she literally backhand slaps the hell out of the Karen and says, "You've been doing this for a month. I'm contacting the police. I'm getting a restraining order. It's been almost 3 months of us doing this." And at first I looked over at her and was like, "You just said a month." And like I started to question it, and she looked over at me and realized that I was a little bit confused, and she's like, "No, but like actually seriously, she's been doing this to us for a good while now, and it's getting ridiculous." And so my friend Edgar looks over at the furry kid and is like, "You actually need to stop because I might try to like even get like they were threatening CPS basically," which I think that's a little too far. But then again, this sorry. This mother, this Karen's like this Karen, like I don't know how to describe it, but I guess they were like, it's just one of those things where like they've been fighting at each other and at each other's throats for long enough. So I'm sitting there confused as hell, not knowing the context between both of this, because all I knew was this is the weird furry kid from the Call of Duty lobby and this is his mother. But now that I know that he's been like harassing my friend for an entire month, vandalizing his property and trying to kill his cats with his dogs, it's like, what the fuck? So I'm just sitting there like in shock a little bit, but obviously irritated, because nobody hurts the pooches, nobody hurts the cats, you don't hurt animals, you don't try to get animals to fight animals. If you guys are like dog fighting or something, I genuinely think you should remove yourself from Earth, but that I digress. Basically what ends up happening is this Karen like tries to reach back towards my friend's mom and hit her, like full force punch her, but my friend Karen, like my friend's mom just grabs Karen's fist and like punches her really hard in the gut to the like point where her wind got knocked out. And so the furry kid swings at me, misses, so I pick him up and I tackle him to the ground, and then he stands back up again, so I pick him up and I tackle him to the ground, but like I'm picking him up by his waist and then just like letting go by throwing my shoulders forward and just letting him hit the ground. I think I hit his head enough times that he might have gotten a small concussion. My fault, genuinely. Furry kid, if you're watching this, my apologies. That's not something I expected to do. But basically what ends up happening is this kid stands up again and his pants are starting to fall off, and like they're underneath his right shoe, like they're tucked underneath it to the point where his shoe is stepping on his pants and pulling it down every time he steps around. So I let the kid walk away for a second, and the Karen and like my friend's mom were wrestling for a second, and the Karen's mom finally gets away. And like my friend's mom just stands there and is like, and if you ever do this again, I'm actually going to get a restraining order. I'm even calling the cops as soon as I get home. And she's like, I'm gonna beat you to it. And like the Karen runs off as fast as she can back to the house. And like the son tried to follow, but keep in mind, he's pretty big. I don't think he's very athletic. I mean, considering that all he does every day, according to his mom, is sit down and play video games, and his room literally got roaches twice. I think he's lazy, so athleticism, probably not in the picture. So what ends up happening is he starts trying to run away, but he ran next to a tree, which grabbed onto his pants from the right foot, and he falls and face plants into a pile of mud a little bit, but his pants get completely like down. He wasn't wearing any underwear, so you see this fat kid's bare ass just bounce and jiggle for a second as he smacks it into the ground, and me and my friend just start busting up laughing. Ugh, I need to take a second. I'm coughing a lot because I'm talking a lot. So after me and my friend like starts laughing, the mom realizes it and starts laughing too, and me and my friend and his mom start walking back to the house. And I'm not going to necessarily say it, but this mom was cool enough to the point where she would let me and my friend smoke. So we did get to do that as soon as we got home. So I mean, hey, we got to screw around with a weird furry kid and then go smoke a bowl. So that was basically the end of that story. Alright, so thank you for the 137 subscribers. I genuinely love and respect you all. You guys have actually given me a bit of purpose in life and reason to like want to try things. I hope you guys all have a good day. Salutations to all. May you all find peace in the domain. Good luck to you, and shuss.